Out my debut power rankings for this season, and man, people are heated. So if you're new this year, weren't following us, what I like to do, I put these out Saturday night as soon as all the games are done, and when the feedback just rolls on in here, an avalanche of comments and hatred, and despite I'm losing followers over this thing, but I don't care. It's a good time. It's all in good fun. And what I like to do is hop on here and have a much more in-depth conversation of why I've got these 14 teams where I have them. And I'm going to do it now because of the LSU game. But the rest of the season, we're going to be doing these Saturday night, putting them out Sunday. So without further ado, debut SEC power rankings now that we actually have a data point on each and every team. And as always, I have to stress this. People, this confuses the hell out of people. This is 2022 power rankings. I don't give a damn where Athlon or Feel Still or AP poll or Coaches poll has got someone ranked. These are my rankings. These are a subjective rankings. Team A, Team B meets on a neutral field. Who do I have winning the ball game? That's how I do these. That's the only method I use. So without further ado, let's get into the SEC power rankings.
Number 14.
Starting here, Vanderbilt. So many people. What the hell? Vanderbilt's 2-0. You got to put them number one. These are not standings. These are power rankings. I know LSU. They lost a game. I get it. But you put LSU and Vanderbilt on a neutral field right now. I'm taking LSU 10 out of 10. Nice story there for Vanderbilt. I hope it continues this week and they beat the hell out of Wake Forest. This is the biggest game of the Clark Lee era. SEC Nation will be in Nashville. Mike Wright, a revelation. Most improved player in the SEC, maybe the country. Give them all their due. But the defense is atrocious. The passing game has got some major, major flaws. Still a total rebuild there in Vanderbilt. It remains to be seen whether Vanderbilt will win a conference game until further notice, until we get into the SEC play, and even until we see them against Wake Forest. I have to keep them number 14 until we see a little bit more signs of life. Elon just had their way with Vanderbilt defense. Elon looked like the deeper team in the second half. That's a nightmare. That should never happen in the SEC. And in Hawaii, they're a joke. 53 new players. Remember, all these people jumping on the Vanderbilt bandwagon were picking Hawaii to win the football game. Remember that. We picked Vanderbilt on this show, and they took care of business.
Number 13.
You got to put LSU, I think, here. Dead last among the rest of the SEC. Just rough. And terrible news here. Mason Smith, outstanding defensive lineman, out for the season. Keyshawn Butte, Malik Neighbors scrubbing their timelines and social medias and all this of the LSU. Apparently there's nothing to that according to Brody Miller of The Athletic. This is just them trying to get locked in. I don't know what the hell that means, but they caused a distraction immediately after the game. Probably should have just delete all that shit if you're gonna pull these things. But hey, it is what it is. LSU has got to get better basically all across on offense. Couldn't get this passing game going. Couldn't get much generating on the ground aside from Jaden Daniels. The defense, it's kind of hit or miss. I thought Florida State was really having a lot of success against this Matt House defense. Didn't like what I saw. Brian Kelly, his comments after the game left a lot to be desired as well. It seemed like he was calling out his players, which was something to see. But, LSU won't learn a lot about them against Southern this week. But, again, going to Mississippi State, that's when we'll start to figure out a little bit more about the Tigers.
Number 12.
12, Auburn. And you may say, well, hell, they beat the hell out of Mercer. Well, it's Mercer. You'll see. We got more coming up here in a minute. I don't read much of anything into FCS matchups. I don't know how in the hell you can. You go out here and you whack San Jose State, I'll give you a little bit more credit. But TJ Finley, multiple turnovers. Robbie Ashford was a spark for the Auburn Tigers. The running game was elite, as it should be against Mercer. Again, just not a whole lot to say about Auburn at this point in time. A data point against an FCS opponent, I just don't take that much into consideration.
Number 11.
The Missouri Tigers. And maybe you could even argue should be a little bit higher. They thrashed Louisiana Tech. They had a lot of haters. Popular pick there, Louisiana Tech against the spread. Missouri made quick work of Louisiana Tech. We get something out of Brady Cook. He starts to hit more passes downfield, a little bit more consistent. Missouri could be rising up this list. I loved what I saw from the Missouri defense. Aside from a couple explosive plays they gave up to Louisiana Tech, Luther Burden, the more comfortable he gets in the offense, the bigger star he's going to be. The ground game just torched Louisiana Tech. So Missouri at Kansas State is going to be one of the more intriguing games this weekend, and we're going to be breaking it down here with Steven Lasson in just a moment.
Number 10.
Now here's the shocker. Oh my God. People, again, thinking I'm hating A&M, but again, what did I say? FCS opponent. You played Sam Houston, 31-0 win, I get it. The score was 10-0 until Anaya Smith with that explosive play right before halftime. I mean, this was a ball game with Sam Houston. And Haynes King I'm still not buying. There's all this hype with Haynes King. He's not played a ton, so we're not saying he can't play football, but I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out where all this Haynes King hype is coming from. Maybe he'll get better, but it's got to happen in a hurry here. They may be in a ball game here with Appalachian State. They shouldn't, but they should beat the hell out of Appalachian State. So again, this is not preseason rankings. This is what have you done on the field this season. It was almost a toss-up here in the first half against Sam Houston, who I got no respect for. Texas A&M, probably the most damning thing of the entire weekend, in my opinion, was their inability to run the ball on Sam Houston for much of this ball game. And I realized they were down a couple linemen. I don't give a damn. That's not an excuse. Sam Houston you're playing here. Your third string should be able to generate push on Sam Houston. So Texas A&M, you got a long way to go, and you win big this week, and particularly 2 weeks from now, you beat the hell out of Miami like you should at home in College Station. You'll fly up this list.
Number 9.
Now, South Carolina, I get some people were calling it out here, but there was a lot to like about Georgia State entering that matchup. It's something we cautioned you all last week about, and they gave South Carolina a ball game until South Carolina's special team scored multiple touchdowns, and the offense came a little bit alive there, but huge red flags with this offensive line, in my opinion. Spencer Rattler was running for his life. But we had some receivers emerge. We had Marshawn Lloyd, I thought, lived up to the hype, and I thought even Spencer Rattler looked good. I know he had 2 interceptions. One hit his damn receiver in the hands, maybe a little bit high on the throw, but you got to come up with that. You got a scholarship for a reason, I believe. So Spencer Rattler, I thought he looked pretty good. But again, how can you evaluate him when he's running for his life against Georgia State? We're going to learn a lot about this South Carolina team this weekend as they travel to Arkansas.
Number 8.
Kentucky Wildcats. You could even argue they deserve to be a little bit higher here. Made quick work of Miami in the second half, but it was a ball game in the first half. Miami came out and held their own for a good portion. Will Levis was sharp in the second half. Couldn't generate much on the ground, though, overall. Running backs banged up. Offensive line not getting a ton of push. Will Levis got sacked 4 times. I thought the defense looked pretty good. I thought Miami would have a little bit more success against Kentucky, but overall a solid performance. And once Brown had the kickoff return to open the second half, this ball game was essentially over. And they just leaned on Miami late in the game. Credit this offense, which has done a 180 in basically 2 years' time. Went from Lynn Bowden rushing every play, Wildcat, were forced to do it. Terry Wilson, he was about as good of a passer as Lynn Bowden, to now you got Will Levis, who they keep hyping up as one of the best in the country. And we'll find out for sure if that's the case this weekend in Gainesville. Number 7. Oh, man, Tennessee is out. They're mad at me now, too. Everybody's mad. That's the theory of these power ranks. Tennessee should be one of the top. Well, we had Steven Lasson on the show last week and said this will be the most lopsided game. I was predicting Tennessee to score 60 points. They came pretty close, scored 59 in the opener. But what can you take away from Ball State? Particularly first play of the game, interception. Second play of the game, touchdown. No chance in hell a team like Ball State was going to recover from that in a Just a wild, wild environment there on Rocky Top. So giving Tennessee credit for making those plays, but that's what they should do against Ball State. Beat the hell out of that team. They were still struggling in some short yardage situations. That was a little bit troubling there, I thought. Again, we'll learn a hell of a lot more about Tennessee against Pitt. They get a win against a ranked team on the road this coming weekend, and they could potentially fly up this charts. Tennessee, number 7. I'm feeling pretty good about that right now.
Number 6.
Now, this one also, a lot of people took issue with. Ole Miss Rebels, such a weird team, to be honest with you. If you actually watch that ball game, instead of just looking at the final score, I mean, they were dominant in the first half. And you got to consider these completely new defense, offense, all new skill players, new quarterbacks. I think Ole Miss right now is maybe the most dangerous team in the SEC, with the exception of, this is a big one, I understand, but I don't know how much confidence they have in Jackson Dart or Luke Altmaier. They're switching back and forth. Jackson Dart, very inconsistent in the opener, but the running backs, the running game, the tight end, incredible, incredible production from that group, and the defense were just tenacious. Just made their work with Troy. They were up 28-3, and they basically said, okay, let's give a half to Jackson Dart, throw it all over the yard, see what he can do. And there was turnovers, there was bad issues with snaps, sloppy, ugly second half for the Ole Miss Rebels. But when they put the pieces together, I think they could play with damn near anybody in this conference if they find that quarterback. We won't learn a ton about them playing Central Arkansas this week, but maybe Luke Altmaier will give them a spark. It's almost like Tennessee last season. Joe Milton, he's the Jackson Dart. Incredible high ceiling, all this hype. And then you got Hendon Hooker and Luke Altmaier, who Tennessee fans, they love Hendon Hooker now. They did not like him a year ago. They thought he can't throw the ball deep. He doesn't have arm strength, is what they said. Joe's our man, yet they throw him in there and he sparked the entire season. Maybe Luke Altmaier can do that for Ole Miss. We'll start to see this weekend against Central Arkansas. But I think you got to keep your eye on Ole Miss. I'm feeling good about this team. But again, it's just one game. Maybe they look like crap against Central Arkansas and we got to drop them all the way down this list. We'll see.
Number 5.
The Arkansas Razorbacks. This is another one. Man, Razorbacks got your back all off season. You put them 5th in a power rankings. They're jumping off a bandwagon. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think much of Cincinnati. I was not impressed. I don't care if they're ranked. They're not going to be ranked after the new poll comes out, and they shouldn't be ranked the rest of the year. That was not a good team. They're small. They had a couple nice players. Their run defense was all right. Their quarterback's god-awful. Just awful. In Arkansas, when you were clicking, you were having your way with this team. You should have beat the hell out of this team, and we saw it in spurts. You leaned on them in the second half, showed what you got. KJ Jefferson, a man amongst boys. These receivers stood up. Trey Knox, how incredible was he? Matt Landers was making plays. Jadon Hazelwood was making plays. Rocket Sanders looked like one of the best running backs in the conference. Against Cincinnati, the defense got a long way to go. We had some injuries. Jalen Catalon, Miles Slusher. Going to have to get that adjusted. But defense has got to come together and quickly because you got South Carolina coming into town. And that's going to tell us a lot about Arkansas. Arkansas, you win big this Saturday. I'm probably going to move you up this list.
Number 4.
All right, this is another stunner. Again, I don't think people watch these games. I think they look at the final score and they say, what the hell? Mississippi State, 49-23 Memphis. Memphis is god-awful. Last 6-6. This ain't last year's ranking. This year. And if you go actually watch this Mississippi State team, it was not a contest. Beat the hell out of Memphis. 5 passing touchdowns by Will Rogers to 5 different receivers. 30-something yards Memphis had in the first half. This was just complete, utter domination till late in the ball game. Mississippi State is everything we hyped them up to be, and sounds like it's going to be a very fun game this weekend in Arizona, who had a big opening weekend against San Diego State. St. Diego. I always think of Ron Burgundy when I hear San Diego. But nonetheless, Mississippi State should go on the road. whoop up on Arizona. If they're everything I'm saying they are, number 4 in the power rankings, they've earned that in my mind. Again, still early. These rankings are very, very fluid. This is not like the damn AP coaches poll where I just keep you up there to keep it. No, you can move down by winning. You can move up by losing. It depends on how you look, who you're playing. And that's the case for number 3. Next team on the list.
Number 3.
A lot of Gator haters were upset Florida this high on the list, but I would say maybe the most impressive, arguably the most impressive win of the season in the SEC. We'll make the case for another team here in just a moment, but hey, I was impressed with Utah. We were talking down to them all season, basically. Utah was everything they were cracked up to be, in my opinion. The quarterback was good. Those tight ends were amazing. Their defense was pretty solid, but Florida was better, and they beat them thanks in large part to the home crowd, but really because of Anthony Richardson and his just incredible, amazing performance in this opener. Florida looks like one hell of a dangerous team, and everybody that thought, hey, I'm getting called clickbait SEC skip out here, maybe a little validation here having Florida number 2 in the East. It's early. Again, we'll find out if they're for real against Kentucky, but I'm liking their odds if they play like they did last week.
Number 2.
Now, this also surprised some people. Alabama. You didn't do anything to not be ranked number 1. You beat the hell out of Utah State 55-0. You're as good as advertised. Maybe the best team in the country, but for my money, not quite. You're number 2 in the country. Bryce Young. I mean, this was like playing with your food here against Utah State. And this was a Utah State, in all fairness, I thought was going to cover the spread. I was hyping up their coach. They were 12-3 under him. Now they're 12-4 with an emphatic 55 to goose egg on their record, thanks to the Crimson Tide. But Alabama didn't do anything wrong. Again, you're number 2 on this list. That means you're the number 2 team in the country. There's nothing wrong with that. All your goals are in front of you.
Number 1.
So, of course, number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs. If Florida's win over Utah is not the most impressive, Georgia smacking the hell out of Oregon, that was impressive. I don't care who you are, 7 consecutive touchdown drives to open the season against a top 15 team. Even if Oregon isn't a top 15 team, it was still damn impressive. Georgia looked like a machine. They look like they're in midseason form. And maybe the tiebreaker here for me, this was not a home game for Georgia. It was in Atlanta, but was not played in Athens. And I think significantly tougher competition than what Alabama faced, but looked just as good. So slight edge there to Georgia, in my opinion. Number 1, Georgia's playing Samford. Okay, so we will learn nothing about them this weekend. Alabama goes to Texas and wins by 50 points. Like I've said, I believe they will. Of course, I may have just ruined my picks for that one, but I have publicly said that before. Alabama does that, I'll probably slide them up to number 1. I mean, this is probably going to be a season-long back and forth between Alabama and Georgia. But for right now, Georgia, number 1. Alabama, number 2. If they meet on a neutral field, I'm taking the Bulldogs based on just what I've seen this season, which is only one game for each of them.